It's Monday with the mayor, and we are in the City Hall of Jasper, Indiana, and we're talking with the mayor of Jasper. That is Terry Seitz.
Hello, Bill.
It's good to see you again, Mayor.
Good to see you too.
Well, let's go over some things that came up last week at the utility board meeting and then also at the city council meeting, which it's a little confusing for me. And that was...
And it should be. Yeah, we like it.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's try and clear it up.
Okay.
With the use of electricity, or I guess the non-use of electricity, Jasper is paid so much a month by a company. Can we talk about that?
You can, and this is in the news because we kind of want it to be. We have a fully functional electric power plant. It is permitted to be coal-fired. It could run today if there was a market for it. There was not enough electricity, and hasn't been for a number of years, for us to produce and serve the entire city. At one time, that power plant on 15th Street filled all of Jasper's needs. And over the years, it became less and less as we have grown, as uses of electricity have expanded. And many maybe remember that a lot of older homes had one fuse in the fuse box and it ran everything. But over the years, you had to build your capacity in your house. We had to get power from elsewhere. In our most recent contract, which was many years ago, to acquire power from elsewhere, that contract basically said we don't really need your power plant, but we'd like to have it just in case. So it's becomes essentially we maintain it in a standby mode, the ability to produce electricity in roughly 12 hours. And we do cycle that once a year. We don't keep coal there anymore, but for that day we have to get it in and produce that and essentially prove its viability. And to keep it in that manner, we are paid what's called a capacity fee, essentially a standby fee. Over the years, that has varied greatly, from $30,000+ a month to currently, I think, around 19. In the upcoming cycle, and I think it starts this summer, the capacity payment will be turned into what the utilities are now using often in regions, an auction. And a large region. Indiana may be Ohio Valley. I'm not sure of the definite geographic connections, but they'll ask for bids to be submitted based on your kilowatt hour, what you're able to produce. And at that particular point, you are there hoping that you would get chosen, and then that you would basically have your fees built on an auction amount. It gets a little iffy there because we've not been through this before. We currently have a projection that it will be a very small amount based on our Indiana Municipal Power Association we belong to, kind of a co-op for buying power with other cities. Our superintendent, Jerry Sheeter, is on the board. Mayor Spinner of Huntingburg represents his city on the board in Indianapolis of these guiding people. And so that's good. It's an association. But others in Iowa, for example, as Bud Hauersberger has alluded to last week, they're projecting quite a bit that we would maybe even be above where we're at. It's a little bit, I think Bud said this also, like gambling, but it is a legal auction, and basically we could submit zero and get the minimum level that everybody gets. If you over submit and the bid for the auction comes in lower than what you submit, you get nothing. So a lot of utilities, Bud tells me, submit zero because at least they'll be assured of something. We don't know. Our electric committee is going to kind of determine what our ante will be. And that's where we're at. But ultimately, it's because we have a viable power plant. We could be running today. The market does not require that, does not need that, but we have been asked by our contractor that provides our power from the grid to be on standby, and we're compensated for it.
No, is that a big loss of money for the city over?
It goes again to the electric department, and it has contributed over the past few years nicely as the plant. When you kind of set a plant aside like that, you still have obligations. I mean, there are costs to keeping it sustained. So yes, it has contributed to those daily costs. I mean, it cranks up. It cranked up last June, and we did testing and make sure everything is fine. Well, you don't just crank up and turn those turbines once a year. You have to do things on an ongoing basis. So yes, it takes some personnel and things to do that. And these were things that have been covered a lot of times, or a significant part, by the capacity payment. Now that funding of that is changed, we're not sure if it's going to be higher or lower than where we're at.
Now let's move on to something else, and that is how are things at Beaver Lake?
Full.
What's good news?
Well, yes. Literally in January, I recall Ken Buck, our Park and Recreation Director, talking about probably won't again be hiring a dock supervisor there this year because, it's just going to, as far as we knew, it's going to take some time. And Mother Nature is a very interesting force because literally less than a month later, it's full to the point that this weekend they probably will be up to the top of the tub, so to speak, and in fact, we had let a little bit out recently just because of some dock concerns and freezing. But now the water level will likely be where it would be at on Summer Pool. And there's like Patoka Reservoir, Beaver has a winter summer pool as well. So we're hiring a supervisor for the permitting and getting on the lake out there. So it's a funded position. It's existed. It just hasn't been filled the last year or so because of the change in the spillway. And the spillway is an extraordinary engineering project that we were forced to do by mandates that were unfunded by the federal government and state government. So even though we did get grants for that, it roughly cost our water utilities, I'm going to say low side 350, high side 500,000. Right out of the ratepayers to do that because they said we had to be ready for 27 inches of rain in 6 hours. And I will always say what I've said publicly. And this was something that Mayor Schmidt's administration had to kind of look at too, and basically tried everything to not do it, but we had to by mandate. If it rains 27 inches at Beaver Lake in 6 hours, it will be the least of our worries in the city of Jasper.
That's quite a bit.
Yes.
Now, are there fish in the lake? Or does it have to be restocked?
That's a good question about. There were some restocking possibilities, and the timing of that, I don't have an answer. It may have to be thought of again. Did that much water coming into play? I mean, you just don't throw in fish seeds.
No,
do that, and all that really building up. I know there was some looking at of how to help with restocking that through DNR and things. I don't know where that's at. Good question.
Now, anything else that you'd like to add as we wrap up Monday with the Mayor?
Well, we have had a very good start to the year. A couple things that are coming up. One thing that's maybe have transpired, or Redevelopment Commission has authorized a contract to be developed with City Visions. This is the group that's doing our Downtown Jasper Master Plan. And this contract would be separate, but parallel with, to look at planning for the Jasper Country Club property. We're close to the purchase of that. Our budget is approved. There is another state action that has to occur to authorize our okay to borrow from a rainy day fund. And then we want to have in writing passed by our council that fund will be restored. That way it takes any elections out in the future and any decisions, which, by the way, I don't think would ever be made. I think any council member will say we're going to restore that, but we're borrowing from ourselves and saving some money. We just want to make sure and lock it in writing that it gets restored. But back to the point, the other one is we're getting ready to start internally April 1st our Rejuvenate Jasper wellness program for city employees. We had over 80% of our employees automatically enroll in the program. It was voluntary. There was some dangling fruit, so to speak, to entice them to enroll. But having well over that, it's going to give us a great measure of the health of our city, of our employees, and that's important. And then we're going to start a program April 1st, a series of programs that we're committed to with Memorial Hospital that will be kind of options, and they will earn some credits to their deductible for their insurance by whether it's weight loss, whether it's exercise, whether it's just reading some materials and understanding about labels. We're very excited about that because it's an investment in our personnel with very minimal cost, and in fact probably what we expect to be a return on investment, because we would hope as a self-insured entity we can see better health from our people, less prescriptions and things like that for diseases. Obviously, that's hard to measure because this is all private. We don't go around. We don't know what people's blood pressure is and things like that. But again, it's about habits and about healthy options and having different considerations, and then Mayor probably not having donuts during department head meetings.
All right. Well, Mayor, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate your time. This has been Monday with the Mayor. Stay tuned. Weather is next on 18 WJTS.